Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of this podcast series called Voices of My Community, where I talk about world problematics and how the UN is trying to eradicate them by their so-called SDGs. In today's episode, we're talking gender equality, which is SDG number 5. So let's begin. Today we're talking about gender equality, and it targets 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. These targets talk about ending all forms of discrimination against women and girls everywhere, eliminating all forms of violence against all women and girls in public and private spheres, including trafficking and sexual and other types of exploitation. So, why is this issue important to both men and women? Well, this problematic has grown in an exponential way due to the rising tendencies taken by men. It looks like we're going back in time instead of moving forward because of all the sexism and discrimination against women nowadays. Primarily, on Mexico, this problem is one of the most known issues in this moment. However, our government couldn't care less about this topic in particular. The streets are still unsafe and men who rape aren't punished as they should. Men play the most important role in this issue, and we still don't realize this, because we are the only ones capable of changing this problematic. Women are afraid of walking alone on the streets when it's late at night. Well, they can take a cab instead, some might say. However, it is commonly known that taxi drivers kidnap girls so that they can rape them and then kill them. There was this famous case in Guadalajara where the police discovered that outside a nightclub, this taxi driver would kidnap girls for a drug dealer for just 500 pesos. It is amazing how desperate is people of getting money that they could make these atrocities to innocent women and girls for people who they don't even know. Where's the common sense? Where's the dignity of the taxi driver who does these kind of things? And this is just one of million cases happening every day in Mexico. Just in 2019, more than 1,199 women have lost their lives just for being women in Mexico. I find nothing wrong with being a woman, but there's a great majority of idiotized men that think otherwise. Education is key in stopping this issue. However, I think that any man who kidnaps or rapes should be sent to the electric chair. I would never forgive anyone who did anything to my mother and or sister. And this is where everyone is involved, because we all have women in our family. Maybe a sister, definitely as a mother. However, we should not stop these abuses because they are our family, but because they are people with human rights that must be respected. And that is where my perspective comes in, since I have an older sister that lives far from here, and I have a mother who lives with me. I love them so much because they're my family, and I don't know what would I do if someone attacked them or harmed them. I think that the community where I live is safe of women abuse and violence. However, I'm not stupid and I know that there is more than my community and that daily women suffer from many forms of aggression. And this must stop. Parents must teach young men that women are not objects that can be disrespected. They're human beings that must be treated with more respect than men. They are delicate human beings and much smarter than men. Men are only the ones who can stop this issue, since we are the one causing it. It blows my mind knowing that there are men that can't control themselves when they're in sexual need and go and rape defenseless women that can do nothing about it. Need to do it by force. I think that we all know someone who has been raped or at least suffered sexual harassment. In Mexico, it is really common that men construction workers harass women who walk by, because they don't have the guts to tug them all by themselves. So they just yell them really nasty pickup lines from the building they're working on, along all their friends. They feel in a secure environment, and that is why they yell at things. This is a culture that must be exposed and must be stopped. But this is a difficult problem to eradicate, since the education that these people receive is almost null. Women are now raising their voices in the streets, protesting against the corrupt system that rules this third world country, and still they're getting criticized by other men, just because they're demanding their rights. There was a really interesting discussion because these feminists were painting really important statues in Mexico. So many people started downplaying the movement because of their damage to historical monuments. And my answer is, we can wash or rebuild these monuments. On the other hand, we will never be able to recover the women's lives that were lost due to the feminicides. But there is good news after all. There are some organizations all over the globe that are striving for gender equality and stopping women abuse in any of its ways. This issue is so important to society nowadays that even in schools like Tec de Monterrey, there are student societies in favor of raising concern of feminism, which talks about sexes being equal. In Cuernavaca, there is one student group that is called He for She. That is a global movement started by actress Emma Watson, who is now an UN ambassador. But obviously, we don't have any contact with Emma, so girls in my high school researched and found a guide in their official website so that you can start your own branch of the movement wherever you are. This is a really smart idea since it makes being part of the project more attainable for everyone on Earth. Besides, it encourages men and women to take part in this huge movement whenever they want, without an excuse. This guide includes all the tools you need to start implementing the idea in your community. Of course, this movement, as part of the UN, has done really huge things for themselves, and they also have really ambitious goals that could be accomplished with the help of everyone. Now, we'll continue talking about this topic with people from my community. But first, we'll go to a really quick break. Stay tuned.
Morning face. You get it when you don't sleep well. This is what happened to Linda.
Morning, guys.
Good morning. Ah! What is that thing?
It's me, Linda.
Oh my god, it talks! Run!
No, it's me, Linda from HR.
It looks hungry! Save the children! Save them! Stay back! I've got mace!
Ow, that went in my eyes.
Quit moving!
It's called beauty sleep for a reason. And there's never been a better time to get some.
Get 20% off IKEA Sultan mattresses. IKEA, love your home.
Hey, welcome back everyone. As the next step of this podcast, I proceeded to interview 3 women with totally different backgrounds, but that live in the same injustice daily. 2 out of 3 of them living in Mexico City, and the other being from Hungary. We can confirm that gender equality has no barriers across the world. It is obvious that both countries placed in the scene are going through different political and social movement initiatives. I asked them 2 simple but serious questions. Have you suffered any kind of discrimination just because you are a woman? If you have, in what way did it happen? What actions would you take to end this issue? The first interviewee's name is Varnia Bernal, a college student living in Mexico City. I know her because she used to live in Cuernavaca some months ago. We went to the same gym. She is 18 years old, and her response to the first question was unbelievable for me. She told me that she had suffered discrimination in school, the place where you go to learn, in front of the teachers. She was told unable, to perform some tasks by the simple fact of being a woman, by her own teammates, obviously men. Due to this situation, her answer to the second question was that they need to teach concepts like equality and feminism to kids since kindergarten. I think that Mexico as a country has forever been a macho country. We always are questioning men's masculinity, and we are criticized by just crying in public, wearing pink and other stupid actions. I think that her opinion is the truth and truly believe that this anecdote is just one of many more. The interview was done via Instagram direct message. She sent me a voice note telling me her story. The message was precise and accurate. I found no restraints in interviewing people by this social network. The second interviewee's name is Daniela Hoffman. She's a Mexican girl that has foreign family members. She's 19 years old and lives in Mexico City as well. I know her because we both work on the same camping company. By what she told me, she was been working since some years back from now, so she spends more time with adults than regular teenagers. To the first question, she responded the one time while working, she was told that she couldn't drive on the highway since men drove better than women. She was outraged by the fact that she was talking to them, adults, not some teenagers or kids over at her school. As Vania's answer, she told me that the education was key in finishing gender equality. We have seen in two totally different perspectives that gender equality is still present, and that a country that can be known for this issue as Mexico is. Not a single president has done some serious laws and actions to take gender equality from theory to practice. The only thing empowering women is the law that states that 50% of the Congress should be formed by women. Actions like this need to be done in order to make real change in our country. The interview was done via WhatsApp messages, and she typed me the answer to both of the questions. Finally, I interviewed Sofia Palfi, a girl from Hungary I met on a party on vacations. She has a house here in Cuernavaca, and she also used to live here. That is why she speaks Spanish and knows some of my friends. She is my age, 18, and goes to college as well in her country. Stating the facts, Sofia is a girl that belongs to the so-called 1%, the upper class. Not many people have houses all around the world. Her answer to the first question shocked me because I've never felt what she described. I've never had really bad experiences. From time to time, my father and my grandfather are really unfair with me. I mean that my little brother has a lot more priorities in so many things just because he's a boy, she said. When I first read that message, I didn't realize what it really meant. I didn't think that her own family sometimes was against her just because of her sex. How could you live without being totally trustful to your father? It has to be really hard to accept that your own blood takes action on you just by being a woman. And that is when I knew that as a man, I have never felt that the way that my fellow friends have described me. And no matter how many times they tell me and describe me the situation, I know I'll never know the way they feel. This society is being constructed upon men and not by men and women, which is an enormous mistake. This is also a heavy reminder that inequality has no walls or limits. And sadly, our time has finished. I hope that you liked this episode. If you did, don't forget to spread the word to everyone in your community and to check our other episodes to become a smarter person. As always, keep talking about issues, but most importantly, start actions on them. Thank everyone, and I hope you hear from me again. Bye!